Oh boy, another week of getting to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. It's week 3 of Radical Red Championships. Now last week, Trico's team had won against Michael's in a surprising upset, and Gold's team managed to sweep straight through the counter-teamer's team, leading to the counter-teamer being knocked out of the tournament for good. Now this week, in semifinals, it's Michael versus Gold. Who will win and be able to face off against Trico once more in finals? We will find out. But before we get into the video, I'd like to say if you were to subscribe to my channel, you will hit all of your focus blasts, never be frozen, and paralysis will never activate. I'm trying to get to 200 subscribers before the end of the year. I know it's not that big of a time frame, and I'm also racing this guy, so I may have made myself a hard challenge, but I believe in the power of anime and plot armor, and we'll be able to get this done. So once again, press that subscribe button and let's get into this. At the start of this week, my team was getting hyped. After all, we had just come off of a fortunate win against the counter-teamer. Nothing could stop us now. But of course, Michael is a much stronger opponent, and his team was much more well equipped for battling, so we did have to be wary about our play style. At this point, it was far too late for us to back out of this. It was all or nothing, and we needed to play like it as well. Our first battle is Razor versus Orbuznik in OU 3.0. Razor so far has been able to get through the tournament without losing a battle himself, so right off the bat, Orbuznik has their work cut out for them. Their battle was in a stalemate for the most part, but on turn 21, Orbuznik elected to switch Toxapex in on Heatran, which led to it being trapped so it could not switch, taunted so it couldn't use status moves, and eventually taken out. A big loss of an important Pokemon, for as a result of this, Kartana came out and finished off the rest of Orbuznik's team, leading to our first loss of the week. I think what went wrong, first off, is when they switched in Toxapex, which got taken care of without being an issue to Heatran. Looking at the set it was revealed to have, though, his combination of Blissey, Ferrothorn, and Toxapex was doomed to fall short. A potential win condition is if he was able to get a clean switch to Lopunny, which he could then use to deal heavy damage to any potential switch in. Regardless, it is what it is, but we can't be concerned about it now. Sure, this was the first time in the tournament we have lost our first battle, but 1 out of 6 potential battles is still a very winnable situation, which brings us to our second battle. The second battle is versus Air Slash in OU 2.3. If Razor was like fighting Sans, it's like fighting a Dark Souls boss. Bold words for a person who's never played Dark Souls. Despite the dangerous matchup, it doesn't look too bad for Air Slash. It starts off like any OU battle, with copious amounts of switching, until enough damage came about Air Slash's Tapu Fini to knock it out, putting Aoe just slightly ahead. One loss isn't bad for 28 turns, but like Jotaro in Part 6... Wait, that part of the anime hasn't come out yet. Like Jotaro in Part 3, all it takes is a small window of an opportunity. And through the course of 105 turns, Air Slash's team is whittled down to nothing, losing the battle 5-0. So far, it's not looking good for us. We are down 2, and we've yet to see Michael play, which is whom I consider the most terrifying opponent of the tournament. But 2 losses is still a very winnable condition. It would just require all the focus of our team from now on. Unfortunately, our coach had to leave us to our own devices for a bit due to personal reasons, so Seaweed had to come in and sub for their battle. This wasn't a concern at the time, but it would lead to a cascade of disastrous events. Seaweed hadn't gotten to play yet, being a sub, so he didn't have a team. He asked around a bit, looking for a team to play with, and I realized this was my moment to do something I had wanted to do since the start of this event. Play UU. Granted, I wasn't playing and I couldn't ghost for Seaweed, but I could give him a team. And if you recall the frankly poor intermission in week 2, you can probably guess what I was going to give him. Now, I was confident in the ability of that team at the time. I knew there were some matchups it would struggle with, but I figured that in Radical Red Championships, things would work out in our favor. Unfortunately, things did not work out in our favor, as Ray, Seaweed's opponent, brought my, and therefore my team's, greatest weakness: Trick Room. I knew that this would be a difficult match, but I believed in Seaweed's skill in battle, hoping, praying that he can wield the team effectively. Of course, that's not what happened. Dude was fumbling around with my team, and here I realized something. I have a rather unconventional way of playing the game. I prefer to go full offense, blasting through my opponents, but that strategy isn't for everyone. And on top of that, the way I build teams can be equally unconventional. Also, Seaweed literally was just fumbling around. Poor dude was lost trying to find his way home. So now, not only were we losing 0-3, but my team is also getting laughed at by the people in chat. No! Before I get into the second half, I want to talk about something that happened during this week. While chronologically this should be at the end of the video, viewer retention has a tendency of dropping off near the second half of videos, so I'm gonna mention it here. A couple small Pokemon YouTubers had joined onto the Radical Red server, and people were going crazy. The main reason they were there in the first place is because they found out that we have a working Pokemon Legends Arceus client working on the server. Now, if you don't know anything about the Radical Red Showdown server, I question how you got here in the first place, but also, the server doesn't just run Radical Red. It also has a functioning Inclement Emerald and Pokemon Legends Arceus client. And while no one cares about Inclement Emerald until the Team Builder client comes out for it, Pokemon Legends Arceus has gained interest, as it is revealed the Hisuian Pokemon are going to be in upcoming Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet. I personally thought it was pretty cool, as since these guys had an actual audience, the Radical Red server would soon get a large boost in popularity. And also there was this moment.
Why are these guys in my battle? Who the fuck is Bugmaster DZ? You f out my battle, little guy.
So of course, I'm gonna have to get vengeance one day. Fire up the bug teams. Anyways, where was I? Oh right, Calamity. We were losing, so I needed to give our team an amount of hope through a win. If nothing else, winning would ensure that we don't just get fully swept in the third week. We'd look worse than the Counter-Teamers team. In my battle, I was up against Shadow, and he brought a Trick Room team. Yeah, this ain't looking good, I'ma be honest. And indeed, I was being thrashed about. There was no way I was winning this. But as Trick Room ran out, and I was on my last Pokemon, Enamorus, I hoped for even the slightest crack in the wall. And it was given to me. Whether consciously or through coincidence, he would switch into Audino, and on the same turn, I would attack with Fluor Cannon. A foolish mistake. And indeed, using that boost of attack, I managed to remove the rest of his team, winning by the skin of my teeth. With this, my team was stoked, as this meant there was indeed a chance for us after all. And with Vilkrok giving Guy his third consecutive loss in the tournament, we had nearly caught up, 2-3. All there was left now was for Enzol to play his match, and if he won, we would go into a tiebreaker series, allowing us a second chance to win through this. It was a far shot, but we persisted this far. We could go further. If only Enzol showed up. Yeah, for whatever reason, Enzol was gone the whole tournament. And before, this wasn't an issue, as both of our rounds, we only had 5 battles to determine the outcome. But here, when we needed him most, he was nowhere to be found. And unfortunately, as Thursday came to an end, as the last day of this week, it was announced, due to a disqualification and the current score being in favor of Michael, we had lost. I was quite reasonably upset, as we were so close to being able to pull off the comeback of a century. But all good things come to an end. With the defeat of my team, this meant Michael and Trico are going to be facing off in the finals. What would happen once we get there? Who knows? One thing's for sure. You should subscribe so you don't miss out on the finals video. I know I'm being a bit of a shill promoting myself this much, but I'm serious when it comes to the subscriber race. I refuse to fail. So if you want to help me in defeating my friend, all you need to do is to subscribe. It's free, and in return it will allow me to make more videos, more often. Anyways, that's it, and I will see you in finals.